The Seed of Shadows, a tale of gradual darkness. In the peaceful village of Winthorpe, there lived a humble farmer named Elric. He was known throughout the village for his kindness and fairness, always willing to help his neighbors. His farm thrived, his family was happy, and life seemed perfect. Yet beneath this idyllic surface, there was a small seed of bitterness buried in Elric's heart. Years ago, a neighboring farmer, Aldwin, had cheated him in a land deal. Though the loss was small, it stung. Elric never confronted Aldwin, thinking it would be best to let it go. But in quiet moments, the betrayal gnawed at him. He buried the resentment deep, thinking it would disappear over time. One day, while tending to his crops, Elric noticed Aldwin's farm flourishing even more than before. A flash of jealousy surged through him, and a voice whispered in his mind, "Why should he succeed when he deceived you?" Elric shook off the thought and returned to his work, but the seed had been watered. Little by little, small thoughts of bitterness began to creep into his mind. At first, they were harmless, a fleeting thought, a brief moment of frustration. But as the weeks passed, those thoughts grew darker. Every time Elric saw Aldwin in the village or heard his name, the resentment resurfaced, stronger than before. One evening, after a long day in the fields, Elric sat by the fire in his home, stewing in his thoughts. He doesn't deserve that land, Elric thought. If I hadn't been so trusting, it would be mine. The more he thought about it, the more it seemed that Aldwin had taken everything from him. The next day, while walking through the village, Elric overheard Aldwin speaking about a new deal he was making with a merchant. A seed of envy planted itself in Elric's heart, and this time he didn't try to shake it off. Instead, he began to think of ways to undermine Aldwin. At first, it was small things. Elric spread rumors in the tavern, little lies about Aldwin's dishonest practices. The villagers paid no mind at first, but over time the rumors grew, and people began to look at Aldwin with suspicion. Elric found a strange satisfaction in this, seeing how easily doubt could take root. Weeks turned into months, and Elric's actions escalated. He tampered with Aldwin's crops, poisoning them under the cover of night. When Aldwin's farm began to suffer, Elric felt a surge of victory, though his conscience still whispered warnings. But he ignored it. "It's only fair," he told himself. "He cheated me first." What started as small, petty thoughts had now grown into deliberate sabotage. And yet, Elric still did not see the evil he was becoming. He justified each action, believing that he was only restoring balance, righting a wrong that had been done to him long ago. Then came the final act. One stormy night, driven by jealousy and anger, Elric set fire to Aldwin's barn, watching from the shadows as the flames consumed his rival's livelihood. As the fire raged, Elric felt triumphant. But as the glow of the flames faded and the sky darkened once more, something inside him shifted. The satisfaction turned hollow, and for the first time, Elric saw the darkness he had allowed to grow within himself. The next morning, the village was in an uproar. Aldwin had lost everything in the fire, and suspicion quickly fell on Elric. Rumors of his jealousy had spread, and though there was no proof, the villagers began to turn against him. In the quiet of his own home, Elric finally realized what had happened. Little by little, the small seed of bitterness he had ignored had grown into something far greater, something far more dangerous. What began as a fleeting thought had turned into a great evil, corrupting his once kind heart. Elric stood by the ruins of Aldwin's barn, the weight of his choices heavy on his shoulders. He understood now the truth that had eluded him. Evil does not appear suddenly. It grows quietly, little by little, until it consumes everything. And as he gazed at the ashes before him, Elric knew that the path he had chosen, step by step, had led him into darkness.